Morning, tea and biscuits. Morning, Bill. Morning, Matt. Morning, David. Morning, Mark. What's happening? What exciting things are going down? Not very much here. I'm honestly not sure I've got much to share tonight. I really don't. Bit poor, really. Should find a home for this. Could do with a clean up. This is my clean traction engine. That looks good. Tea and biscuits. It's looking good. Does it work? That's the thing. There's some seriously black arts involved in getting them running. I built the little engine a few years ago now. I built the little engine out of the back of LBSC's shop shed and road, and I should have built two of them while I was at it. But it come up fairly nice. It's only tiny. Built it for a friend as a thank you. And it's got a inch and a half boiler by about that long, vertical, with a little engine on it that's 332 piston, something like that, with pipe work and oilers, and it's quite a pretty little engine. Anyone's familiar with it? This one's Kenneth Wells, yeah. But I had devil's job trying to get the burner to run properly because there's more to it than just that. Maybe it's just me. Russ Knox, good day. This has got a canopy on it too that I haven't put back on yet. Bill's on the whiskey. I wish my roller was this shiny. It's not, just so you know. I actually posted on Traction Talk forum on Facebook, which is a big English traction engine forum. No, it wasn't Traction Talk, it was Traction Engine Scene or something like that. Hey, Stuart. The canopy wasn't too terrible, actually. It's had a knock while I was moving, so I've got to sit down and actually put it back together. But there's my canopy. These spiral pieces come off. It was actually, I quite enjoyed this. I think it come up all right. Hey, Peter. John Ashburn, good day. So basically it's a bit of a job needs doing on it. Full length canopy though. At some point I'll solder that back up. I've just got to solder these back on here. It's got little pivoting bushes, and these are supposed to go in there, and they were soldered in pretty substantially, but they've come out. So whether I make new ones of these and new bushes and silver solder them together so it doesn't happen again, or what I do, I don't know. It's got proper spiral columns, see? But it had a bang and they're a bit bent. But anyway, that's one of those jobs that I've got to do. Get to that one day when I've got spare time. Bill, not beyond anyone really. It's a very, very good foundation course in metalworking, really. It's something that it's well proportioned. It's a pretty tidy little engine. It runs nice. Straight out of the box. It's got a burner. But you end up with without a whole lot of effort, you end up with a bit of time and a lot of new skills. You end up with a pretty nice little engine, properly finished. It's nice. Anyway, Raymond Martin, who's often on this live stream, he often shows his head. He bought my last set of castings and I think he's having a go at it. So, yeah, it's an excellent foundation course in metalwork. It really is. So you learn a lot, but this is beautiful free running. A bit fast, really, but nice little engine. Everyone needs one. Much more rewarding than owning a Mammoth. Hey, Dan. Some small precision drills that were obviously odd sizes, probably for gas jets, something Dad had, I reckon. Don't know what's there. Anyway, I'll put them away. Dan's just been on the phone about traction engine. Don't do that. I was going to ring, but then my audio book sounded better and I was dog tired and grumpy when I left work, so I didn't ring Dan. I'm sure the information will wait. There's plenty of them around if you want one. Don't expect me to help keep it clean though. If you haven't got time to clean it, you haven't got time to own one. Buy a Mammoth instead, fridge. There we go. This is so easy. Hey, Rolf. Yeah, if you welcome aboard, join in, because we're a crazy bunch and some sensible sort of injection occasionally doesn't hurt. Maybe just buy a Mammoth. Yeah, buy a Mammoth if you haven't got time. I actually posted a no Barzy for me. No, didn't go. I bought a steamroller instead, so no more overseas trips, I don't think, in my lifetime. I was just looking at my Kenneth Wells over there in the corner, and that could do with a good polish too. But anyway, a bit poor. Seriously though, once you got them looking nice, they're a lot easier to keep clean, and I just haven't got there with the roller yet. Didn't do anything with these this weekend. Very poor. Yeah, don't deserve to own that one either. That's exactly right. Can't keep it clean. I ought to get into it with the Brasso at some stage and give it a clean up, actually. Might do that this weekend. Journeyman Randy, g'day. Oh, one night. I could probably do it tonight even. You know, it's not a big job. Let me know which year you're going, Russ and Ox, and I wouldn't say never. I'll come too. So there you go. I'll be an interpreter for you. I did this sign here yesterday. There we go. It's a bit rough, but it's a job for. It's a job for my local machinery club. It needs a second coat for sure before it's finished, and I was going to put a bit of pinstripe around here, probably like a stripe around here somewhere. Don't know. We'll see how we go. Hey, Paul. So that was a quick job yesterday. Bit rusty. I really need to spend some time. I need some time spend some time practicing with the paintbrush, especially the small letters. There's a couple of pretty crappy little spots there that I might even wipe off. Give them a scrub. I overshot the top of the E here. When you point them out, it's really not terrible, but there's a couple of things that aren't quite right. I've put the angle on that M there. Okay. Yeah, the M's angled wrong. And I'm gonna probably go over it all again anyway because it's a bit thin. So we'll probably fix most of that. Anyway, job's done. It's another job. So, would you like to stand up and tell us about the engine you're buying, Dan? I'm not buying an engine. No, there you go. That's very straight. That's valid. What I am buying is a drum of WD-40 or diesel or something and a squirty bottle. Because I think that might be the way forward, apparently. No engines for me. I've got this nightmare. It's enough engines for me in my lifetime. I've also got this one here that's starting to. I was actually thinking that I would get in yesterday if I had time. I've got no room. Honours boards are a trade on their own, Bill. Really, I've got a friend here in Brisbane, actually, that's all she does is honours boards. That's her entire profession. She's a full-time sign writer and all she does is gold leaf honours boards. A couple of lines a day. I was going to get in and start hacking away at this little crankshaft, actually, yesterday, but that didn't happen either. Did some laundry, did a little bit of cleaning around the place, put some things away, sat down with the paintbrush and lettered that sign, etc. But now I've got no room. That's that's my new excuse now. I've got no room for things. Probably more to the point I'm too far in debt to buy too many more engines. No, I'm just not going to. I think it's sensible to limit yourself to what you can actually do. You've got 30 acres down there, Dan. If you put up a wall or a tin fence or something so you can't see them from the kitchen window, then you've got all the room in the world. I was going to make nuts for these two, and they might happen during the week. I've got to get to the foundry at some point, and that hasn't happened. I've got a little nameplate for a Roby for a friend that we're copying that belongs to another friend. And I've got the levers for these that have got to be cast. And there's a top 710 cover for a bearing on a on the big Robertson saw bench. So it's another job. Hey, Donald. Oh, excellent. Excellent. That's very good. Tiny house with a massive workshop. Yeah. I don't know, a workshop with a bit. I don't know. Something in the back of my mind says that there's still a vintage caravan for sale at Forbes that no one's bought. That's sort of the elephant in the room at the moment. We'll see what happens with the tax check. But if someone else buys a traction engine, a caravan would be a very, very good thing. I'm just saying that there's every chance that take care, John. Good to see you. I'll catch up sometime. Whereas living is great, it's not cheap. It doesn't really happen in Queensland. You're already being accommodating, Dan. Yeah, that's right. They're getting out of bed. Well, the other thing is too that you don't have to come home in the morning either if you've got a caravan behind you with a traction engine. It's definitely got more pluses than negatives. Anyway, so I haven't done much this weekend, to be honest. As much as I should anyway. Hey, Ross, good to see you. Sounds like Ross has bought himself a decent lathe, which is pretty awesome. Good to see. There's a gold huggy earring. Now, I'm not sure whether that's the one I found or the one I lost. So I'll put it somewhere safe and maybe we will find the other one. Yeah, Fred Dimnasar, getting an old Land Rover with ladders on it as well. Go Create Hobby Machine Shop. Good day. I wonder how the loco's getting on. Take the pressure off me a bit. Happy birthday, Craig. David Ian Sykes isn't here, but happy birthday to David as well. He's watching this later. So, that's where we're at. Bad influence. I'm a bad influence now. Apparently, I'm a bad influence, everyone. David's there. No worries, David. I saw it there. Hope it was a good one. Oh, you poor thing. Flash flood's not much fun. Donald Sayers there. And Don, we might get that tender out and have a bit of a look at it, eh? And give you some idea what's involved in the construction. Donald's got a beautiful Great Western 460 inch and a half built. Where can you start? Buy that book. This one. Watch Myford Boy too. Myford Boy's got some really nice castings at the moment for some simple oscillating engines. This one's on the internet for free. It's a bar stock engine. It's not a bad little engine. I'll just move your crap probably. I think this is called Steve's model engine. Steve's modelling pages. This is a nice little engine. It's well designed, and it's sort of got basically a built-in chuff pot. I mean, it sort of runs pretty slow. It's a very nice little engine. Don't buy a set of Stewart castings and expect to ever get them finished, because even experienced modelers don't do that. Well, get them finished anyway. What was I getting? This tender. I've got the Tubal Cain book somewhere too. Jesus, heavy. I think I dropped a casting. Yeah, there's a smoke box lid and the pumper centric. Don't know which one I dropped. Anyway, not a lot of room on this bench. Buy which book? Buy the Kenneth Wells book. It's available. It's back in print. Camden have it as a digital download or as a actual printed book, and I guess other people do too. I don't know how much you can actually see here. We'll try. We'll attempt. Here, I'm going to go hands-free. But give you some idea, we were talking about this. This is for Don's step-by-step metalwork 3, Ross. That's exactly right. And it builds that little engine over there in the corner. David is the number one authority on that particular engine. But that's a pretty tidy little engines. I haven't got the 24th of this month. See that angle in there with all those bolts in from the outside? Or bolts from the inside? And then it's sweated around. So what we did was put angle all the way around. You can see that probably. We need a torch. Like that all the way around. And then all the way around here too. These are actually rivets, I think. This was actually riveted on here. But this has got screws all the way around here too, and there's angle actually on here, follows this pattern, this shape here, to hold it together, and then there's an edge around here, which was a fun job. That's actually riveted on too, it's got rivets in the back. But a bit of work. This is just screwed in here. So that's the best way to construct a tender. We'll have a bit of a look underneath and see what's involved. The tender's from my 3.5 inch gauge Princess Marina, which is another project that should have been finished and never has been. Capillary action on the solder, yeah, just a soft brush and a big soldering iron and plenty of 50-50 or 60-40 or something. Ross, get in touch with me about that. So, I'll give you some idea what's involved with this. We've got very weak springs in it that need stronger springs actually. Don't know what's happened here. Something got pinched or caught or something. There we go. There's a sort of sprung loaded. Something's not quite right there. I think it's a spring caught on both of those. This was actually a bad idea, putting these steps on here like this, and I'm probably going to cut them off and redo them and put them actually on the horn plates. But these were laser cut with all the shapes in them, and then these castings here, which you've got, go on there, and then the axle boxes and the two little horn stays each side. So basically the wheels are just pressed on the axle. Quartering anything's not important. They're just castings on here. They've got coil springs in here. The springs. Hey, Kevin. And then the buffers are all. It's a big job, this, but the buffers are all sprung as well. I don't think these have actually been properly assembled yet. I don't think these were strong enough springs either. So there's a lot of work in that. I don't know why this has gotten tight, but I think this one's not. This one is. I think the springs probably jumped out of the keeper there because they weren't the right springs. Might be a little bit of rust there, but I don't think so. Probably it needs some oil. That's about the long and the short of it. This is the same. It's got two steel, like two aluminium, two angle rails here. hold this on there. So these are screwed or bolted through from here in a couple of 4 places. And then here on the back, or on the front here, they've got pieces of angle here. And this fits in between them, and they've just got bolts in them. These are actually riveted on the front. And then there's bolts for the buffers. So crap load of work in that, but you can put something like this together in, look, if you get in and have a go, this took me about 4 months, I think, 3-4 months weekends. There's a hand pump in here. A stainless plunger and everything. And I need to put a hinge on this, but that's basically a cover for that. So, Kevin, g'day. We really are looking forward to your next video. Absolutely. If you're anything like me, you've got nothing else to do. So, anyway, this is something that I'm still working on, which is sort of a dummy panel for display. I'm not sure it's entirely as awesome as I anticipated. I might have to rethink it. But the idea is to have dummy panel here and working doors and a toolbox and stuff on it, so that you can put it on for display or you can take it off to use it. The boiler is what needs to be done, but the boiler is the expensive bit, so at some point maybe, when I sell the roller, or not. I'll put that back up on the shelf when we're done. Put it over there out of the way. Oh, we've got a clean bench, look at that. We've put those castings with it too. But yes, we all have the same problem. There's not enough hours in the day and not enough money to do things. It's not even true, right? The truth is that we all live without, beyond our means as time and financially in this hobby. And if we didn't, then next week we would be. So too many hobbies, and they all require money and they all require time. I've downsized considerably in projects. Like, I really have got rid of a lot of projects, which is awesome. But I've taken on, in particular, the roller, which is a crazy big project. Crazy big project. RevXS Customs, g'day. And that's one of those things, you know. It requires a lot more time than anything else, and all the other stuff's got to go around it. And then I have friends like Dan who seem to have picked up more projects over the course of the week than the ones that I've got rid of. So I don't know what you do there. I need to knock him on the head a bit or something. You've got to start somewhere sometime. I'll go and grab that book and I'll show you what it's about. I really hope that it impresses you guys as much as it impresses me. And I can go into the library and I can find this, right? Anyway, this is a pretty nice little book. It's still in print, or it's back in print, right? There was 3 of these books. This is the last one, right? It's a high school book. We had this in high school, and I never ever built either of these engines. I looked at the book and wished I had. But I built both these, right? This is the marine engine, which is a very pretty little engine and quite good. Quite a good engine. It's got a burner in the back and a little oscillating engine with a casting and everything, and proper form sideboards with nice flange holes and folded up sheet metal and studs through here with nuts on each end and a piece of stainless across the top to hold the boiler in place, and proper pipe work, and very presentable, like oil hole and a stripe on the flywheel. Very, very cool little engine. This is a good book because it's basically step by step. It's got good drawings in metric and imperial. Actually, mostly metric. Sorry, guys. It's got a picture of the burner and the base. That's it there, see? It's not a bad little engine. The engine's the same, or the engine assembly is the same on both engines, and the boiler's pretty much basically the same too. But it's got options, like David says. So there's a casting, which I made a pattern for. And there's a sheet metal one, which is made up out of sheet with a bush in it, which is quite good too. So you don't need a casting for it. So that's made without a casting. But this one has got a casting. So this one's got a casting, which I did. But, having said that, it's got basic foundry work too, step-by-step drawings, copes and drags, and how to pound your castings and patterns and make patterns and castings for this little traction engine, which is a very pretty little engine. It's quite a good runner. So basically it's wooden patterns through to completed engine. Yeah, Cam didn't have the book. It's spiral bound. I think it's just been re-released. This is an original one from the... I don't know. I don't want... Probably shouldn't tell you this because it makes David feel old. But reprinted 1975, this one. Donald, yeah, do it because it's a really nice little engine. I've got a set of patterns, Donald. You're it's down the road, so I can get you a set of castings. No worries at all. But that is a pretty good start. It's a nice little engine. This runs like a dream. It's well finished. This is well finished or better finished than a Mammoth or a Wilesco engine. It really is classic. And the traction engine's really not a terrible design either. It's you've seen a bit of use, you can see they could do with a polish. But this is a really good design. The boys over on the Discord forum are building a poly. I'll grab that book too. Yeah, no idea where that book is. Sorry, guys. I spoke too soon about that. Anyway, take care, Nigel. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Cracker or Ellie are both pretty nice little engines, actually, and I wouldn't mind building one of, I don't know. You need a railway for things like that. And I know where there is a narrow gauge, like a 32mm narrow gauge railway, absolutely. But I don't think it'll live long enough, honestly. So the one concession I made for this, which I think I'm pleased I did make. If I was building them again, I might do it slightly differently. But these safety valves are both Titch valves. Also, there's no washer on that one. Someone said something about removing water from brass copper boilers. That's why. There was some discussion on Discord, on my Discord server, about steel boilers being a bit more difficult to manage and maintain. But you can't really leave water in or dampness in a copper boiler either, because this is what you get, and you end up with scale. But that's beside the point. These are Titch, like LBSC pattern safety valves from the Titch book, which is a proper Ross Pop style pop ball safety valve, which is fantastic. Probably could come apart in the clean too, but anyway, you go in ultrasonic maybe. So steel and copper are really the same maintenance. You've still got to spend some time on it. Certainly a steel boiler in another 30 years is going to be a lot harder, a lot easier to put new tubes in than a copper one. But someone said, I thought a boiler only lasted 30 years. That's kind of not quite right. The boiler on the roller was rebuilt 97. Was this 25, 28 years or something ago? It's still got a full boiler's ticket, and I think there's still at least that long or a bit longer on it before it needs to be downgraded. So I don't think steel boilers are any more difficult. The big thing about putting a steel boiler on a loco is that you've got a bit more weight, which gives you a bit more towing capacity, a bit less wheel slip. And it's certainly a lot cheaper now. But you need someone to weld your boiler up. So, anyway, they're both nice little engines, and they both run pretty sweet, actually. But if you've got that crap in there and you put hot water in it and you boil this off, right, all that crap's going to boil off. And then you get non-dissolvable solids in your water. And what you get is air bubbles when the pressure comes up and the oxygen rises to the surface of the water. Where with a clean boiler and clean water, you get the bubbles come to the top and then they pop. So you've got a very small or fairly thin foam layer like a kettle boiling or something like that. Take care. Say hello to the ferret. So what you got to dirty kettle, so you don't get the same. What happens is when that boils up, the foam bubbles become, or the bubbles in the foam at the top when the oxygen comes up through, because there's a layer of non-dissolvable solids on top, those bubbles don't pop. You just get more and more foam. So what you end up with is a much more difficult to determine water level on a gauge glass, and you get less steam space in the top. So when you do open the throttle, it takes a lot less to withdraw the steam completely, so your pressure doesn't last as long. And also you're much more likely when you do open it to get that foam out through the cylinders and through the drain cocks, which tends to wash oil out of your cylinders. And that's a bit of a problem too. So a clean boiler is sort of important, and good water. So that's what happens. But what you'll find is that if you've got a bigger foam layer, especially on a road engine, when you're going uphill like this, right, your gauge glass will still show water. Or going downhill like this, your gauge glass on the back will still show some sort of water level, because your takeoff here is negating the foam level, but it's still showing at the top of the foam, or further up the foam than the bottom of the foam. So you've got a false wear reading in your glass as well to some extent. So dirty boilers are also, besides that, it take a lot longer because those non-dissolvable solids in the bottom of the boiler, or wherever they are, take a lot more heat to conduct through to boil your water than a clean boiler does. Any more answers or questions, ask Fridgie's the expert. There are problems. There are products out there to actually clean boilers. Honestly, a descaler tablet and this would make a big difference. And that's probably what it needs, is mix a descaler tablet up in some water and pour it in there. A blowdown to some extent does fix it, but if you've got bad water, you've got to actually get pressure up to do that blowdown, and sometimes that's not possible. Town water in particular, in Coots Crossing, which is the town nearest to where the roller's kept, town water there. With a couple of times that we've put it in the roller, we've had troubles with it, so it's pretty conclusively there's bad water. And you're struggling to get enough pressure up to blow down or even get home or anything else if you put that in it, because it just doesn't boil, and the non-dissolvable solids and whatever else in there are just all over the place. Two gauges, one at each end would be fantastic, but in a roller in particular, or a traction engine, not so much a railway locomotive, because a railway locomotive is mostly on the flat. The roller boiler is pretty clean. If you're going uphill, for example, right, this is what happens. Where's something we can put under there to make it give us an observable incline? There's a couple of insert boxes anyway. They're almost wide enough. Our roller's going uphill. Now, we've got water here over the crown sheet. We probably haven't got water in the front that's covering the tubes. So we've got some hot metal in here that's going to be a problem when we finally start going downhill at the top of the hill. Because we think we've got plenty of water here on the glass. And we get up to the top and we come out on the level, right? Like that. And it sort of stops rocking and we think, geez, that's a bit low. And we've just used all our steam getting up the hill. What do? So you're going to pump some water in there pretty quick and cover the crown sheet. And then when you're going downhill, this is a problem with traction engines, right? We put that up there like that and we're facing downhill. All our water's in the front and we've got no water here on this side, and then this glass here. And it doesn't take a whole lot to make this water disappear in the glass. You've got problems. So they're all things to think about. And having a dirty boiler with like non-dissolvable solids in it amplifies this more than, a crazy amount. So not only have you got these problems with a clean boiler, you've got these problems with a dirty boiler, probably, I don't know how many times worse. So you've got problems. Anyway, there we go. There's boiler school for the night. I know lots more than that, but I'd have to look it up. Ask Dan. Just Dan Shed on if you're on Discord, on the Discord server. Dan Shed, just tag him. He'll answer your questions. He's an expert. It's what he does for a living. I'm not. But I guess I can drive a roller around a bit. That's about all I know. And that's very, very limited. And I've sat the course on all this, but I've retained some of it. So that's how it works. But there's more to driving a traction engine than just driving it. The other thing about a full-size traction engine is that they don't have brakes. Which is a bit of an issue. We could demonstrate with this one because this one hasn't got brakes either. But once it starts to move, it don't stop moving. Basically, you crawl it downhill and then throw it into reverse, and it will, to a certain extent, if you've got enough steam pressure, it'll stop it. You have someone standing by with a chock. So yes, there's a handbrake here on the wheel, on a full-size engine, but that's really not going to pull that forward. But that's what reverse is for. Basically, lever into reverse puts the steam on the opposite side of the cylinder, and that'll stop you to a certain extent. But if you haven't got any steam, because of all these things, then you haven't got any brakes either. And you see pictures of you regularly see pictures of steamrollers upside down in historic photos and not so historic photos. It's happened in living memory in the UK of rollers in particular. Basically, in that sort of a picture that looks a bit like that, and you think, how on earth did that happen to a 14-ton roller with a very low centre of gravity and not very much top speed? Why does this happen? You see how my clean my ash pan is? I really like that. I'm not getting black at all. Anyway, if you look through historic traction engine photos, you see this regularly, and there's a couple in living memory that have had this happen to them in England. And you also, every now and again, see one with the front end through a wall somewhere. It's because when they get away and you get going pretty quick and then you hit a bump with one side here and break the steering chain and this swings around sideways and you end up off the side of an incline or in a ditch or upside down or something like that. But driving a roller is a bit of an experience, to be honest. And generally when you take it out, something that you haven't foreseen or something that shouldn't go wrong will go wrong, and you've got to be on top of that, and that's a bit more difficult. Last week we went out, had a good day winching logs out of the bush. There's videos on Facebook, and I think there's videos on Discord, just short ones. Winching logs, saw logs out of the bush with the winch on the left-hand side wheel. What happens with the roller is that you pull the pin out, and then the winch is driven separately to the wheel, so the wheel doesn't move, and the winch turns on the axle. So if you undo the end of the winch rope, which is attached basically to the drum, so that it just keeps turning, and reverse the engine, you can pull the rope out, and then you can pull a log with it or whatever, which is very useful. It's very, very powerful too. I tell you, biscuits here, that could be an issue. But towards the end of the day, when we were starting to remove logs around the paddock, the rope come past and caught on the injector pipe here and bent it and broke it. So we never had an injector, so time to go home. And that's all very well, but little jobs like that, little things like that happen all the time, every single time you take it out. Expect the unexpected with them, because it's going to happen, and you've got to be sitting on a fairly big kettle with a lot of pressure in it. So there's a lot to learn, and I'm still learning, very much so. But that's what steam's all about. I think you're always learning. But anyway, these are both pretty cool little engines. I've got a set of patterns if you're interested. Anyone that's local. Otherwise, I've got a set of STL files if you want to 3D print them. So if you're interested in that too. I'd love a set of dredging or ploughing engines, very much so. But there was a pair sold in England last week. Pair of Fowler's Z7s or Suburbas or something, big fellas, like big ones. They needed significant boiler work. I think they were out of commission at the moment. Significant boiler work. They went for £153,000 for the pair. And they're tidy, complete engines that have been in steam not so very long ago, but they probably needed $50,000 each spent on the boiler. So big dollars, but like Ross says, it's a bargain. It's really not a terrible sort of a price really for a pair of Fowler Powers ploughing engines, big ones. They were a numbered pair, I think. I believe they went to America, so that's one of the problems, especially in Australia, is that they end up back in England or in the USA when things come up for sale, because there isn't a hobbyist with enough money. I have one that's a very good engine, but it's only a roller, which is sort of the poor cousin of the ploughing engine, or even the traction engine. And it's impolite to ask a lady how much she spends on things, so yeah, we'll leave it at that. But probably it's an investment that I could get my money back on without any trouble. So there you go. So all about steam. We haven't covered anything else much tonight, but they were sort of things that I wanted to talk about a little bit, because there's been some discussion. If you do Discord, hit up our Discord server, which is Spareroom Machine. Jump on, because we're a crazy bunch, but there's room for everything. I see there's one now for put one up for musical instruments and guitars, as there's quite a few people who are keen on making those. And there's one for full-size steam, and there's one for model steam, and there's one for photography, and there's one for the usual crap and current projects and etc. There, Peter's put a link up for that, which is really awesome. Thanks, Peter. And there's a lot of crazies there that actually spend a lot of time making stuff. And how's the saw coming on? Pour the bearings yet? The bearings need to be machined. Graham O'Keefe was doing them. He's a local machinist guy here who's got a pretty good interest in those sort of things, and he will eventually do them. But Graham's getting a knee reconstruction at the moment, so it's on hold for a little bit. I personally am not that worried about that, because I know they will get done, and bit by bit we're getting there. I mean, we've got the shaft done, and the keys done, and the pulleys done, and basically we're still waiting for the bearings to be machined. But I know Dan's pretty keen to get it up and running, but I'm paying the bill on this one, so we can wait a little bit longer probably. They're not baby, they're solid bronze, and we put it, instead of 2 3/4, which I think the original shaft was 2 3/4 inches, we've actually gone through and put a 70mm 4140 shaft in, which is crazy overkill. A 70mm shaft in a saw bench is just, it's certainly got inertia happening. But that's about 2.5, 3mm or something bigger. And that gives us enough to clean the original bearings up and bore them out to size. So that worked out well. And of course we've remachined the pulley to fit. I still got to find a drive pulley for the bottom for the power feed, or the feed table, or the winch for rope feed, or whatever. And that hasn't happened yet. But anyway, that's a work in progress as well. We haven't forgotten about it by any means. But to be honest, it's not on the back burner. It'll happen sometime at some point. But right now I'm feeling there's lots of other things to do. I've got to get this roller to Glenray Timberfest in New South Wales and last week in July. Sponsorship's been organised for trucks and things to move it. So realistically, it's got to happen. So there's things that still need to be done, mostly cleaning and general presentation and tidying. I'd very much like to get in with a wire wheel and take all the paint off the smoke box and the chimney and put a new coat on it, but I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, it's a big job. Transporting the roller is a bit of a hassle, actually. I'm seriously thinking that I should go and sit down and do my heavy articulated license. The trouble with that is that you've got to have a logbook and you've got to have it up to date and you've got to be able to use it to retain it. So you've got to either be working in the industry or you've got to have a truck. To my mind, having something like that to actually move some of these engines would be fantastic. And we get to the occasionally a few more events, but the trouble is with the roller at the moment is that it's a super tilt or a drop deck float, which means that it's either going to have a winch to load it or something like that. Because to spend 2 hours getting the fire up and driving it on, which is not all that much fun with a roller anyway, because they're slippery rotten things with no brakes, and then drop the fire and move it to the next location and load it up and drive it off again, it's just not going to happen when you're paying for someone to stand by with a truck from depot to depot. So at this point, the super tilt was probably the low super tilt, because the thing's just under 4.2 loaded on a super tilt, and there's a height restriction on that. So you really got to winch it on something, but the sponsorship we've got, I think, is a drop deck, which is okay, but we've got to borrow a winch and block and tackle on another truck to load it, and then have him there at the other end to unload it as well, which is a bit of a problem because there's no winch on the truck. So that's where we are. It's a big job to move it, and the trouble is with big trucks like that, if you're moving it anywhere that takes the truck for a couple of 3 hours, it's going to cost you $500, $600, $700, 3 hours to leave Grafton, come and pick it up, load on the truck, take it to where you want to leave it, unload it, and go back to Grafton is a minimum of 3 or 4 hours. and it's going to cost you $500,000, $600,000, $700,000. You might be lucky enough to get a backload somewhere, like we did when we took it down there. But you easily get away with $1,400-$1,500 in transport costs when you move the thing. So this event has some transport. So because of that, there's 5 or 6 engines coming, which is pretty awesome. It's a pretty awesome little local steam event, and hopefully that continues, because we've been pretty lucky, and thank Dan for that. And that's why we're making the effort, because there will be a few engines there. But honestly, it's next year maybe we'd like to drive it, but to do that and actually put on the road and move it, I think it's about 48 k's, something like that, 46, 50 k's. To drive it on the road, I'd really like to jack it up and take the back wheels off and sort it out and have a look at the bearings and sort of say, well, exactly how worn are they, and what's picked up and what's awful, and how many felts are in bearings and things like that. So we don't so we don't have an axle come off, or a broken axle, or a wheel come off or something halfway, and that gets complicated. So to that end, it's a 2-day trip, and camping halfway would be nice, but you've got to organise water and firewood and stuff, and I'm not sure how much cheaper it would be, to be honest, but it might be a fun trip next year, next July, if the team are all keen. But there's transport with 3 stationaries on it, and there's a portable engine and a few other things too. So if we really wanted to, we could pull one of those things, or we could have a caravan sorted out to pull that. But it's a big job, and all those things have got to be checked and made roadworthy. And no chains, it's gear drive. It's got some serious gears in it, and the gears have been redone back in the 90s, like refinished. So basically built up and recut. Well, recut, they've been hit with a grinder, I guess, probably. But they're fairly big gears. Some of them are 4 or 5 foot diameter, with teeth that wide. And the gears will last, but it's just bearings and things that I'm a bit concerned about. And it'd be very nice to pick it up and actually see how far you've got to pick it up before the wheel comes off the ground, stuff like that. See how worn anything actually is before we actually do any serious more road trips. It needs to be done. It's just a matter of getting some toe jacks under it and some blocks and a decent hard surface to do it on, and some sort of crane to lift the wheels off, because the wheels weigh about 1.5 tons each or something, 1.25 tons. So there we go. And yeah, we'll get some videos of it, Stuart, I promise. Try and get a video for the weekend. Generally, when anything happens with the roller, or when we go out, it's a full-time job without a video camera, and we forget. It's usually in the car, and it just doesn't get switched on. Because, yeah, we've all got him. I mean, the whole team's got their hands full for the entire day. There's not really enough time or space to be filming video too. A GoPro hat or something, or a chest harness or something is probably a really smart idea. Except you tend to get a picture of a dark hole underneath, where you're actually looking for things to repair. Everything gets black and dirty, and you get black and dirty around the roller too. So I guess the picture's sort of emerging here, and I sort of I guess that's what I'm trying to, I'm not trying, but it gives you some idea of what's actually involved in running a road roller. It's a crazy big job. There really is. Anyway, take care, Paul. Good luck with exercise. Don't strain anything. I might be out too. We're an hour and 20 minutes. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Keep us updated with your projects and things, whether that's YouTube or Discord, or signing on here and tell us what you're up to. But if you need any information about why you should or why you shouldn't buy a steam engine at the moment, I'm not the person to ask, because anyway, be kind to each other, and I'm going to call it. Thanks, guys. Don't know if I was dribbling crap all night, but there you go. And I'm down for next week, so we'll see you then. Catch you. I'm out. Good night.